Welcome everybody. In us versus them situations, we have a type of group relationship where everybody identifies with one of two groups. These groups oppose each other, are perceived to be in such a competitive relationship where one fears personal loss if the other wins, and both groups are taking extreme positions. This kind of group relationship was exemplified in the video presenting Republicans and Democrats before the US elections, where parties considered the victory of opponents as a harm for themselves and said that their biggest fear is that the other side wins. Us versus them situations have four components. First, intense competition. Second, groups taking uniform, extreme positions against each other. Third, out-group homogeneity. And fourth, in-group homogeneity. In the first component, intense competition means that groups are in competition for scarce resources and social status, so that values, interests, and identities of the opposing group are perceived to cause harm, constitute a threat for the group, and undermine its status and self-esteem. For example, when unemployed natives feel that immigrants steal away our jobs, the conflict is perceived to be over a scarce resource. The level of groups, the perceived conflict, tends to amplify group homogeneity on both sides. As conflict escalates, group members are more likely to consider both us and them as uniform in the characteristics and behavior. They attribute positive stereotypes to us by claiming, for example, that we are law-abiding and hardworking, and stereotype negatively the outgroup by accusing immigrants of bringing disorder and crime to society. In the second component, groups take extreme positions against each other in us and them situations. But negative prejudices can occur also without an intense group contest. For example, when elderly are seen as resistant to new technologies and innovative ideas, or political opponents are belittled by claiming that they are all brainwashed. This way people reinforce the perception that the related groups are homogeneous and they see them as uniform with negative traits. In the third component, perceived outgroup homogeneity is a necessary precondition of us versus them situations, where both attitude and relationship to the outgroup are negative. For example, when all wealthy people are perceived to live in their ivory towers apart from us, and not to care about the struggles of common people. However, the same simplifying and unifying perception of outgroup identity can work also in a positive direction, when attitudes and characteristics admired among us are being also recognized among and attributed to them. When immigrants are seen as hardworking and law-abiding, as we are, such positive perception of outgroup homogeneity advances constructive group relationships. Similarly, in the fourth component, in-group homogeneity, that is, positive perception of sameness among group members, does not always lead to us versus them situations. In normal social life, professional associations and sports teams all encourage their members to perceive each other more alike and similar to each other than they actually are. Such positive group bias is needed for members of these groups to experience a shared sense of professional calling and to ignite team spirit necessary for excellence in sports. In conclusion, these four components are necessary for complete us versus them situations, two of which, outgroup homogeneity and in-group homogeneity, are multivocal in their effect on intergroup relations, having a potential both to increase and decrease polarization at the level of social group identities.